identity shift is about what you say when you say identify as a scientist or doctor or engineer, because that's what you have basically been trained for. And like I told you guys, I broke off from that identity as a doctor a while back. I did that consciously. I don't regret it. But again, it's not something that people do lightly, or a decision that people take lightly, right? So for each of you, I think that's an important question, whether you have formed a strong identity, and what that means to you, and how can you still not let that become an obstacle when you're looking to forge a career path. So this trap of I'm a XYZ, basically, what it does is that it kind of narrows your scope as to what you're looking for to be your next step. Some of you may also feel, because of that anything that has a commercial angle to or business angle to it is either something too foreign, like you don't understand it, or you may even have a little bit of aversion to it, that I'm a scientist and those business people there, they do their things. I'm only interested in science, which is fair, which is fine, right? But then you need to know what your options are as a career from that point. Unconsciously, this happens a lot. Sometimes people undervalue their skills that they have developed over the course of their master's, PhD. They're doing their research, writing their thesis, and they don't necessarily feel that these skills are suitable for the industry. And for me personally, the decision to not go into clinical practice after completing my medical degree was exactly that moment when I escaped this trap. And as I said, I had to ignore a lot, like peer expectation, parental pressure, etc. But I knew what I was doing, and I wanted to have a bigger impact on medicine and healthcare, even if that meant working in the background and foregoing the social prestige of being called a doctor, or the hand that saves lives, or whatever they say. It was totally worth kind of giving up. So for some of you, the driving force may be opposite. For example, wanting to pursue your scientific interests and working with your strengths rather than having to learn to do something new can be quite enticing. And I felt something like this after graduating with my MD as well. And then actually, as I said, I wanted to get into a role where I worked on clinical trials, but MSL was working out at that point, so I took that role. But I did not think that starting role will kind of define me or my career. It meant working with sales reps, and any kind of sales function has a slightly negative perception, especially among scientists. But that role taught me so much about pharma marketing that I still heavily rely on that knowledge. So don't see, what I would recommend is you don't see your PhD or master's training only to have made you like a good bench scientist or a scientific writer, or an expert in gene editing. Like, think of all of the other vastly broad and incredibly transferable skills that you have built, such as evidence-based thinking, critical analysis, being able to work with limited amount of data. Make these your winning strengths by translating them into resume bullets and interview responses and tools that help you succeed in your industry roles. And of course, there are things to be learned along the way as to how do you do that, how do you shine in job applications, and there are plenty of resources available for that as well. So make good use of that.